All right, everybody, stand by. We're going live for our 11 a.m. session. This is Kevin with New York State Parking Transportation. We're going to go live at 11 a.m. with Jim Zullo, president of THA Consultants. He's going to be talking about opportunities and strategies to aesthetically enhance and improve your older parking structures. Stand by for Jim Zullo.
Started with the 11 o'clock. Kevin, you good? Good afternoon. If you can take your seats, we'll get started with the 11 o'clock session. Thank you. Next to present is Jim Zullo, the president of THA Consulting, to give us some information about aesthetically enhancing older parking structures.
All right. Thank you, sir. Hold on. I got to turn on my mic. I apologize. All right. Everybody can hear me okay, right? I hope I'm not too loud. Well, thank you for attending. Thank you for NISPA for having me and present. I'm really excited. I've been involved with NISPA for quite a while. It's a wonderful organization, and more important than all the great education, it's the kind of the friends you make along the way. So very happy to be here. Just very quickly, who has parking garages that they operate, maintain, own? Can just show of hands. So great. So I come from, prior to being with THA, I was operating a lot of parking structures and ran a parking authority in New Brunswick, New Jersey, right at the verge of where we're really redeveloping. And, I looked at parking, as we all do now, as, the gateway to the downtown. And this was a time when, our town was pretty rough. It was a lot of traction. So it was critical that parking garages kind of set that first tone, and we know in our business, it's, the first and last impression of wherever you're going in a place, a campus downtown. So, with that, today, parking garages have really advanced. They really are part. I remember being at an event with the former mayor of Pittsburgh, and he said, parking is part of the urban realm, and it really is, and we'll talk about what older garages look like. But today, there's so many great, wonderful designs. These are just a few examples of projects we've worked on. The upper two were actually, the facades were designed by artists. They're in the Miami Design District. If you've ever been to Miami, design and style matter down there. So they're not about to kind of put up with the utilitarian structure. So the green walls are always talked about and popular, and I'll speak a little bit about that. And there's all types of facade treatments, again, so that these facilities contribute to this, area, the campus, whatever it may be. These are just some other examples. And, great firms, throughout our country help design these, from smaller structures to larger structures to this structure here, designed by a very star architect. And again, it's, this is in the heart of Collins District, Miami. The upper right is Novartis campus, all bamboo facade. So really some unique treatments to deal with, making these garages part of the fabric of the community they serve. The challenge is that garages weren't always designed like that. They were formerly very utilitarian. Oftentimes the butt of joke, or not even the jokes, is severe about crime, about dark, about unsafe. And, obviously those conditions still exist today, but you can see that older structures, very utilitarian, cost efficient. And one thing I want to, impress, when you saw all these great facade structures, they cost money. There's no doubt about that. And, and I'll talk a little bit about, parking today, ranging, and I'm going to just give a range because it varies on so many different factors from, say, $25 to $35 to $40,000 a space, depending on, if you're in an urban area, your area of the country, the site constraints, all that type of thing. So, there is a very focused attention to keeping the parking costs down. That said, that facility, the way they're designed and maintained, hopefully today, it's going to last 50 to 60 years. So you're going to be living, or your community or your campus is going to be living with this structure for decades. So, it may warrant a little more investment up front than, people really like to do. So these are a few, examples of some fairly utilitarian garages, and I've got some case studies that I'm going to show you about how to, how we've worked on enhancing some of them. The first thing that I would like to, and I was just talking to a gentleman from Structure Care, again, being in the parking business and running parking, there is often significant amounts of money that are invested in maintaining them. And some of the enhancements that you're going to see that we're recommending or offering today aren't, we recognize the first baseline is you've got to make sure your parking garage is structurally sound, that the money's invested to take care of that. Because if it's not, and you're putting aesthetic treatments on it, it's, you're really kind of not putting your money in the right place. But that said, having lived through multiple restorations, you kind of talk to whoever, your mayor, whatever, and go, yeah, we're putting $1.5 million or $2 million, whatever it may be, into your parking structure, and then you walk through it, and all you're really seeing is new concrete. You're seeing maybe new waterproofing. It's not like when you renovate a house and you're watching HGTV and it goes from this to this beautiful structure. It really doesn't look that much different when you do the structural improvements to a garage. But that said, that is the baseline. And I have a project that I'll talk about that gives you a budget on one that we worked with like that. So, again, why why there should be a focus on this aesthetic enhancements. These garages are going to be with your community or campus very likely for several more decades because, one, the cost to decommission them, to demolish them, that is significant in the millions of dollars just to do that. And then if you have to replace the structure, you're facing, again, let's say a $30,000 price, you need to replace a 500 space garage, you're talking $15 million just for that. So between demolition and new construction, you're maybe $20 million just in the hard construction costs. So that's the kind of the calculus that needs to be done. What is it worth to invest in an existing structure? And I'll give you an example again of where a town was going to demolish it, and we kind of said, well, let's take another look at it. So again, we want to contribute to a city or campus sense of place. We want it to be safe and secure, that feeling like we designed today. We overlight garages, you do all these things to make open stairwells, a lot of glass just to make sure they're safe and secure. Again, too, a more comfortable, more attractive parking facility will likely generate more users and more revenue. And again, and maintenance is critical. I really, again, having been in the operational side of things, representing a town, everything has to be maintained on a regular basis, and it just can't be improved or built and then let go, so to speak. So, and again, we just talked about the replacement parking. So this kind of just gives you an example. If you can remember this picture and these two, so a couple of ideas that are being contemplated. So we'll go through these items here. Why am I not moving here? Okay, there we go. So these are some of the strategies related to aesthetic, focus on aesthetic enhancements. Again, structural, very important, but this not really focusing on that. Exterior lighting, interior finishes, enhanced wayfinding and branding and signage, the facade treatments. And there's ways to apply facade treatments, be it through paint, and I'm going to talk briefly about paint. When I talk about paint, I am very focused on it's something that you should never have to put a scraper to for the next 30 years. It should just deteriorate slowly and fade. It should not be anything that requires maintenance. And when we promote a painted piece of concrete or facade, as we've kind of contemplated here, it's with a material and a paint treatment that will never peel, so that you never have maintenance again. It may fade, and it may have to be reapplied or freshened in 15 or 20 years, but nothing that causes you maintenance going forward. And then there's other treatments as well. So again, coming from kind of your side of the table, our architects will go up and they've got a lot of great ideas, and I kind of have to have a wrestling match with them and say, look, people have budgets, it's got to be realistic, and then it's got to be able to be as maintenance-free as possible. So lighting is a critical component. Fortunately, the cost of lighting related to the utility cost with LED has gone way down. So the ability to overlight your facility is not a huge issue related to utility costs, especially today. There's so many programs, be it state or utility sponsored, that can give incentives to changing out lighting and making it more attractive, that type of thing. So, we look at a lot of, in some of the cases we'll show a lot of strategies to use lighting, both on the exterior for, design enhancement, for attractiveness, but most, in the interior as well, really to enhance that level of comfort. And critically, when you enter a garage, too. You want that first appeal to be well lit, and we'll often even recommend, painting the underside. It's a little costly to do every level of the garage, but even the first level, when people drive in, they look up, they see a bright white ceiling, good lighting. It's really such a better invitation to the facility in general. So the next area are elevator upgrades. Now, in a garage, it is, 80% areas you really can't touch, but the elevator vestibules are really, a place that you can enhance through, the quality of the elevator finish. Typically in a public garage, we're putting stainless in because of, vandalism concerns and things like that. They need to last, they need to be durable. But there's also opportunities for better flooring, not just concrete. And again, from the maintenance side of things, if you have a tile or a terrazzo or even an epoxy coated, assuming you have the right appropriate, not slip resistance, it's really important for cleaning, because outside the elevator, people spill coffee and this, and if you've ever tried to clean concrete, the only way to do it is like power wash it, and obviously adjacent to an elevator, you don't want water going into your elevator cabs and into the shaft. So when you think about this type of retrofit or enhancement, that's a nice consideration as well. The floor treatment, ceiling treatments. I mean, just to give you an example here, you see this wood. You look up, and this in the elevator areas, you see a lot of conduit or wiring, this and that. Putting ceiling treatments just for a limited area around the vestibule really enhances just the feel, more like a typical lobby, not some concrete structure. And again, I know in new garages it's fairly an insignificant cost when you're talking about $30,000 a space, but with a restored garage or an enhanced garage, it's something to consider as well. You can see in these, like where the one is, the ceiling treatments, and they can be suspended. They don't have to cover every inch. It's just breaking up that look. And then we'll talk a little bit about signage. Graphics, really, really important to get artistic with the graphics and not just your typical situations. Again, this is more about signage and branding. We always look for every opportunity to enhance that, to make it vibrant, to, one, obviously you want to make sure people know where they are and where they're going. That's that is what a good signage and wayfinding system is. You don't want people to come into the garage, make sure it's intuitive to travel around and to get to where they're going, no confusion, no getting lost, but also where you can incorporate nice signage, it really does set a little more modern tone for the facility. And then, as you can see in the upper right, maybe if it's serving a campus, it could be related to your sports programs or whatever. This garage is serving a zoo, so each level was designated by a different type of animal. So. And then placemaking. One of the things about garages in your garages, typically several hundred people a day are going to be going in and out of them, and the areas that they are walking by have a lot of people. So to the extent that you can utilize spaces either within the garage or adjacent to the garage to help activate the area, make it feel a little more part of the urban or campus fabric, that's possible with landscaping. The upper right was adjacent to a garage where we created a pocket park to serve the downtown area. Obviously, mixed-use development. Now, obviously that's got to be in your garage already, but I've walked into a lot of garages where one particular, it was very unsafe. It was very inundated with people they didn't want to have in there, and they had a big office space just sitting vacant and boarded up. And the recommendation is activate that. If you got to put it some sort of municipal office or parking office or whatever that may be, so that there's a presence there, so there's a light shining outside of it. So these are some of those examples. And then sustainability. Obviously, as we learned early in the presentation, it's a considerable factor for parking facilities, old and new. I was just talking. In Miami, we're working on a project where the Miami Code is now requiring for new residential projects one bicycle rack per apartment. And we're working on a project that has 600 apartments, and we have to figure out where to put 600 bike racks. So it's a real challenge, but obviously, and I think kind of the bicycle usage related to e-bikes is really going to take off in downtowns and transit locations. So we're going to have to more and more look to accommodate maybe in safe and secure areas, because people don't want to leave their 25 or 3,000 or 10,000 e-bike out in just a typical bike rack. There'll need to be cameras, there'll need to be locks, these types of things. So all types of considering. Obviously EV charging, there's a nice graphic to designate the EV charging stations, that type of thing. And very important to user convenience that can accommodate in any garage is occupancy systems. I think they're not necessary every space or every level, but I think when people pull up knowing that there's available parking and how much really provides a user convenience that they know they're going to pull in, find a space, they may have to go to the third or fourth level. So these types of systems are also easily incorporated into existing garages. So just want to talk about facades again. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of materials, and I'm not an architect, so I know enough to be a little bit dangerous. But there's a lot of, and I work with architects though about doing things to modify a facade that are affordable. And here's a couple what we call scrims that are, you can look at this garage, take away those scrims, and you got a pretty plain garage there. Something that's not necessarily going to contribute to your campus or your downtown. It's going to look like a warehouse for cars. But these 4 panels thrown up are pretty attractive. We're working with the town now that they're getting local artists to design each panel, that type of thing. And so those opportunities, and they can be changed. Now, these vary in cost from $50 to $100 a square foot. So, plus, whatever the mounting systems are. But again, some of them can be designed for 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years. So, they're vinyl covered PVC. They have a really long life existence. You'll pay a little more for the ones that last longer. but to me, a great and affordable way to modify your facade. And you can kind of pick and choose. There's, typically in a garage, you don't need to invest your money on, you may only need to invest your money on certain, facades, not the four sides of the garage, so you can pick and choose. And again, a lot of great examples of using, paint, the right type of paint, to modify a garage exterior and really add life to it. And again, can engage local artists. Very importantly is lighting. LED lighting, I love it. I love the fact that you can, have it for all different holidays, events, things like that, different colors. And this is a garage that we're done some design work in Norwalk. This is existing, but you can see just the lighting of those column areas is really, at night, it really impacts the garage. This kind of typical artwork, that's again a painted thing that really adds to this little area outside the garage. And then obviously LED, and that's a newer garage, but it just kind of gives you an example of the opportunities. So green walls we get asked about a lot, and it seems to be the sustainable thing. I would kind of advocate that they're great in certain climes, probably the West where there's water, like the Northeast, the Pacific Northwest, Florida, Carolinas, wherever. But where, at least in New Jersey, probably specifically in New York as well, they're really challenged in the winter. First of all these systems have to have specific, irrigation systems. They need to be watered regularly. You got to run all that piping. You got to control. You got to be careful to drain all that piping in the winter so it doesn't freeze and break. But this is an example of how beautiful it looks in the summer, and then the winter not so much. Summer, upper top, and winter. So I am not a big advocate of that because 4 or 5 months of the year it's not going to look too attractive. And there was an example of a garage in Miami Beach. They did it. They called it the Chia Garage because it grew so extensively that they had to spend every few years a lot of money just to trim it back. So, but that's better than what the winter picture looks like here. So, and again, what I talked about is maintenance. It's really once you implement these improvements, it's really critical to provide the proper maintenance. So often we were just talking, we had a client, we designed the garage, and after 6 or 7 years, I call them and say, hey, you really ought to have a condition appraisal right around now because this is when things start to deteriorate. And, I think I started, pre-COVID or thereabouts. They haven't done it. Finally, we did the condition appraisal, and they saw the number, on, replacing the joint sealants and replacing the waterproofing systems and addressing some cracking concrete and spalling. And they're like, it was their first garage, and they certainly had sticker shock. So the point is, one, you need to establish a capital budget every year. We recommend, depending on the age of the garage and other factors, the design, anywhere from $100 to $125 per space per year to just be put aside. Doesn't happen too often because we're not good at budgeting that type of stuff. But then over 5, 6, 7 years, that builds up pretty significantly. So when you have to replace your joint sealants and your waterproofing systems, there's money there to do it. Whether it covers everything, we don't know, but at least there's that capacity. So I want to just go through, and let me see, I want to see my time. I think I'm moving fast, but that's fine by me. So you'll get out early if that's all right. I know you got lunch coming up. So this is a garage in Allentown, Pennsylvania, that we worked on. You can see this is the existing. This was kind of the second when the garage was aesthetically enhanced. And just one thing you'll notice is the little park off to the right with the green wall versus what was there previous to. So again, this garage also serves like a convention area of Allentown, and this walkway went through the garage and went to some of the convention destination. And you can see not really a too attractive walkway. So what we proposed and implemented was, you can see the ceiling design, and then actually this was opened up into the garage, that curtain wall system you see there. So obviously a much better feel and you know, safe, secure environment. And again, please, you know, if there's any questions along the way, you know, obviously I'll take them at the end, but feel free to interrupt, or not interrupt, but chime in. So, this is an example of, we added an elevator and, you know, the upper level, you know, stair tower and enclosure. Again, glass, you know, is critical. And in the design of a new garage, you know, today, all the stairways, all the elevators, we try to put as much glass as possible. And especially not just on the outside, but inside the garage. To the extent the fire code allows it, because if a garage is considered closed, that requires automated sprinkler or HVAC, you do have to have an enclosed stairwell, and it will cost you more money to put glass, but the difference of being in either an open stairwell or a stairwell with glass is so much different than being in closed concrete stairwell. That, you know, it's not an appealing place to be. So again, a little more money to do that glass, but for user comfort, it's critical. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Did you get any actual feedback from the public on whether they really appreciated that, or because that looks helped? There's what I would walk in when I was trained to walk in. So you just as an end user, did you ever get any feedback from that, or just?
You know, the project was done, you know, several years ago, so I don't know exactly, but I know that the client, the Allentown Parking Authority, you know, was thrilled, and you know, the activity just generated through the area. And Allentown has experienced a real resurgence, you know, urban resurgence. So this was just, you know, we're just really happy to help contribute to that in this way. So.
Back to the aesthetic slide, you know, when you have structures that are kind of like you described, a parking tower warehouse, basically, the price range, would you say? I know it depends.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Whether it's the lighting or the mural, like.
Well, I'm gonna show you a specific budget. So I'll give you two examples though. So one garage we're working on in New York, it was a total. So you know, I've got that coming up, so I'll go in there. Yeah, no, I'm glad you're asking that. So again, here, that was the hallway outside. So we're looking now at this hallway from the garage to that pathway. That was the early picture. So you can see, you know, how open up, how vibrant, how comfortable that feels. And then interesting, we actually helped them brand this. We did this logo for them that, you know, now they have that at the entrance of the garage to kind of, and the tower that they have, their speed ramp, spiral speed ramp is, you know, bathed in LED lighting. It changes at night, you know, based on however they program it. So it's fun. So this is actually the one we'll talk about, one of the cost ones. But so this is a garage in Yonkers that there's a big redevelopment right across the street, and it's not perceived to be a great functioning garage. And when we got involved, they were going to take it down. And we've done restoration work on this garage over time. And so they asked us they were building a new garage. We said, well, let's do a sizing study. And as we did it, we said, you know, you're going to tear this down. It's going to cost you, you know, a couple million to do that. And then, you know, you're going to build a bigger garage. And the other garage didn't really sit in a location that best served this area. I mean, this garage is really well located, and it's directly across the street from this new development. So we said, well, you know, why not put, you know, put some investment into this, don't demolish it, and then the new development that's being contemplated, instead of them building new parking or all their new parking, they can use this as well. So after doing the study and some concepts that you'll see, that's where we are. And actually the bids just came in to do all the restoration and aesthetic work. So this garage not only is an aesthetic enhancement, it's a full-blown, you know, restoration of concrete and waterproofing systems. And, you know, because we had to design the restoration program to get them a minimum of 30-year life. And in addition to the initial repairs, we're putting a budget that they're going to have to spend to maintain this for the next, the cost that they're going to have to incur over time to make sure that it's maintained. But these are the things we looked about, the facade. Again, we talked about a little pocket park adjacent to the garage. Wider sidewalk. I mean, they have retail in the low, you can see in that picture, lower level. When you step on the retail, you're like 2 steps, you're in the street. So we looked at widening the sidewalk. The vehicular entry was very, vague, as you'll see. And so it was just also a connection to this redevelopment area, which is literally just on the other side of that block. And then, so I'll show you some of the ideas here. So these are, again, just an overview of the garage, some of the major generators. The new garage that was being contemplated is like over here. And we said, look, people from that area are never going to be able to get up here and use a parking garage here. So this one is really, located in the heart of their district here. And, why take this down? If it was structurally unsound, and we would never have recommended this, but at least our good engineer said, no, this thing's built like a rock. And what we found out later, who designed this garage was I.M. Pei. I don't know if you're an architect. I.M. Pei is a very famous architect, so he designed this garage. Probably would be in a historic place one of these days, but that's also a problem when architects design garages. It's always not the most functionally efficient facility. So these are just some pictures of the existing conditions. You see kind of on the upper picture 3 there, the facade of the garage. But it really had kind of this, like the spiral garage, it really kind of had this neat linear framework. And that's what we tried to take advantage of when we designed the facade. And it's got some retail space, so there's opportunity for outside dining. The lower picture kind of emulates maybe a connection to the redevelopment area, which is just where all these cars are parked over there. That's the site that's being redeveloped with apartments and retail, all that good stuff. And then interior, we had very uncomfortable stairways, blocked in. That I apologize, you don't have a picture of that, but that where the number 5 in, that was just totally enclosed, no opening. So we designed it with pop out some openings to give on both sides to give more visibility in and out. This picture here, we wanted to take out these walls and open up. There's limitations as to what we could do, but again, just kind of opening that to improve the feel. And this is what we contemplated in the facade. So I have a video, hopefully it works. But this is all contemplated to be paint. Even some of it's not going to be painted, where we have the white, it's just going to be power washed. And we kind of wanted to frame, the top and the bottom of the garage, add a new entry portal, widen the sidewalk, like we said, put in new awnings at the lower level, and then this pocket park. The pocket park we're not proceeding with. They want to hold off on that for now. But let me see. So any idea how I can get the video going? Or I don't know. Well, I apologize for my technical incapacity. It's not showing up as the.
Yeah, it doesn't show that there's a video.
Bottom left, there's a little tiny triangle.
Right here.
You were almost done. That?
Yeah. No, that's just the next
just
slide. I guess the video in this didn't transfer, I apologize. All right, well, that's a shame. What were we going to do? So we do have a video where we kind of do a whole facade enhancement. I have 3 of those videos, so we're going to, so this is but going to cost, so this renovation with all the structural work and all the aesthetic enhancement work, it came up to about $14,000 to $15,000 a space. So very significant, but again, when you compare it to the new cost of a garage with the demolition, it was still probably well below 50% of what that would have been. So I'm really disappointed these guys did the video, but so this is another project in Newark, New Jersey, that it's a garage of Rutgers University. That again, it's funny because when we talked to them about this, and we're walking through the garage and have pictures, and they're like, they go, yeah, we'd like to do, we talked about some aesthetic enhancements, and they said, we would really like to do some stuff here. What can you do for $100,000? I said, well, look, let us we'll do a little we'll do a little report for you. We'll do some ideas. We'll show you what we can do. We'll put a budget on it. It's going to be a lot more than that, but maybe you can phase in some of the things. So long story short, and I do have the budget, they saw what was done and they found the full budget to do it, which was over $1.5 million. So, and it's about a 770 space garage. So this is in the heart of the Rutgers Newark campus. Obviously, a fairly utilitarian. These are like metal spandrels. Not too attractive, and a lot of great development going on in the area. And as a matter of fact, the garage sits directly adjacent to their new administration office. So if you're a new student wanting to come and considering Rutgers, you have to drive into this garage, which is not too attractive, not too representative, I'm sure, of what Rutgers wants to present to their potential students or enrollees. So, and then to the right is a couple of concepts. So, again, I apologize for my technological flaw, because some of these drive-bys are really nice, and what I'll try to do is maybe get them on at our booth that we can show them to you. But this you'll see some before and after. The entry portal is really important as well to designate where people drive in. You'll see a picture of what it's like today, but this is like what they call a cladding of the facilities, and then cladding, these spandrels that just had these, metal type of systems. You see the scrim, what we refer to as the scrim up in here. And again, if we tried to cover this whole facade in a scrim, it would be too cost prohibitive. By just picking certain locations, we're able to get, a better feel to the whole project. And one thing to be careful of too, when you put these scrims up, parking garages, if they're an open garage, open air, meaning, not ventilated, not sprinkled, open air, these scrims can impact that. So you have to be careful in doing that calculation that you're not putting enough up that would now classify it as a closed garage, because that's not a good thing, because you'd have to sprinkler it and HVAC it and that type of thing. So that's a consideration. Here, this was directly across the street from the admissions office. So as students came, this is kind of what they were walking in and out of. You can see kind of those old subway turnstile things, or, it's probably belong more in a prison than a parking garage. So we had to redesign a new entry exit to the facility. And again, here you can see, I get confused just looking at this picture. Where would I drive in? So we've kind of redesigned all that. We've kind of angled the portal so that it's kind of more, you can see it as you approach the garage. And then again, just on the insides, this is the lower level. We're designating one area for, new students. We'll sign it accordingly, welcome. And we're probably, that ceiling is painted, showing as gray. That's going to be white. So just this area, we're not painting the entire garage, but just the area where these very important visitors to the school are going to come. We're going to enhance that area versus, kind of what you see there. And this is the lower level, so we're doing a lot more of that curtain wall that you see right at the edge, meaning more glass. Up the upper levels, for cost, we did not, take down all these enclosed stairwells like we talked, but we are at least just taking off the doors. This is an open garage. There's no reason to have doors, these heavy kind of doors you can see in here. And that's, think about it. That's scary when you're, either in or out. You got to push that door. You don't know who's in there. So at least having the opening is a simple fix to make it a little more user comfort. Obviously, all the CMU wall will be painted, though, up and through the garage. So again, I apologize. This is our video. I'll try to get that running at our table. I'd love for you guys to see it. It's really the designer who does this for this. It's really fun. It really sells, the work. So the last one that I have, this is a garage in Norwalk that we went to great lengths to come up with different concepts, different colors, and it actually got presented to the public. I'll show you that. But the this, again, kind of a neat design, with these ribs down. I mean, the funny thing about these ribs is if you can see the ramp of the garage here, they extend like 4 feet. So if you're walking through there, you can see all these yellow signs, you'll actually hit your head on. I'm like, how do you allow that to happen? But so our design concept, you'll see, is to kind of cut all those off. But existing garage, existing conditions here. Again, not unattractive, but just with some enhancement, as you'll see, some of which you may like, some of which you don't. But our client, we had to go through multiple color variations. So this is the design, and again, it really will come through in the video. But we wanted to show, and this is the garage I showed you early on that had the LED down the columns, but it was only on that one wall. They didn't extend it around the whole. Their LED is on this facade right here, and so obviously we suggested to take that treatment all the way around the garage. But again, this is just, paint. I mean, predominantly you're seeing different colors. Here we got into designs where we got a little different. We added some metal screening. As you can see, different patterns for that, different patterns for the lighting. A very important thing too, and again, I'm not an architect, but was framing these tops of these ribs. If you look back to this picture, they just kind of die. There's no, and my architect who works with me goes, very good at saying, look, we got to frame this stuff. So we have a better picture. And then again, on the interior, this is the main entrance. This is actually a conference room that they have. Just some wall graphics to enhance it, stairwell graphics to make it a little more attractive. And then, just getting down to cost, you look at all these. This budget is about, about 1.6. And one thing I'll forewarn everybody is, the construction market's crazy. You're getting prices all over as a result of supply chain and things like that. But this came in at probably about, $3,500 per space to do the enhancement. And this didn't involve a lot of structural work. We were cutting all the ribs to raise that height. And it's funny, in their local news, they had public meetings about what color to select and that type of thing. So this is a newscaster on TV pointing out the different types of options that people voted on. So ultimately, let me just check that's my last. So ultimately, they voted on a very more simple version. This framing, this metal screening is not included as well. And again, landscaping, we're going to be working with a landscape architect to really enhance the overall landscaping of the area. And again, but if it's not maintained, it's not going to look so great. So I really do apologize about the technological malfunction. But again, I'll try to get that running, and if you have any interest in seeing those, or I could even probably get this presentation to you in some sort of file. But with that, I think that's it. So let me. Am I back? So any questions, or let me just.
Jim, what was that second slide, the upper left garage?
Let me just see what, maybe I can get a little.
Next one. Next slide.
Hold on one sec. Let me just get to the slideshow. I don't know why.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, the upper left one.
This one?
Upper left.
Yeah, that's a garage in Atlanta that serves it's a zoo down there. Yeah, and it's got a green roof. It's an amazing project. We were the parking consultant on that. And so, but I'm sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, have you ever added retail to a garage on the first level that didn't have any retail before?
Well, it really comes down to head height. It's got to be designed to have adequate head height. So I don't know that we've added it where it wasn't initially contemplated, you know. So.
How about the reverse? In some cases, not a lot of cases, but in some cases, roofs are being underutilized. Have you ever added offices or apartments onto the roof of the garage?
No, they're, you know, in a new garage design, they're not designed to carry that load unless it's specifically designed. But just to your point, what we do in all new garages, we'll try to design the first level to accommodate retail, whether they intend to or not. First of all, it gives you a much better user comfort when you drive into the garage and you have a higher head height. It really makes it more comfortable. And then if you want to do it down the line, you've got the head height. And as we talked about the autonomous vehicle revolution that I think some people are talking about either today or tomorrow, there seems to be some real waning on what that, you know, for the last 5-8 years in the parking industry, it's all about, well, what's going to happen when parking demand goes down because people get dropped off and their cars drive somewhere else. I think there's a realization that that type of technology is not going to happen in our, and I don't want to go out on a limb here, but it's maybe farther off than people think. So, but oftentimes when we were dealing with new garages, everybody said, well, what are we going to do when there's no more demand? And we did an exhaustive study for Princeton University where we had to look at all the costs associated with designing a garage for conversion, and ultimately it was determined, which will add presently 30 to 35% per space today. So if you had a $30,000 a space garage, that garage, if you needed to design or the features to accommodate future development, it's likely going to be $40,000. Higher structure level, because again, garages are, believe it or not, people weigh more than cars, you know, in the loads that are anticipated. So the loading level is higher when you're accommodating people. There's more, you know, there's got to be more access and egress to leave the garage or leave the facility. So there's a lot of considerations, and ultimately it was determined it'd be better off build it as efficiently as possible. We did raise the first floor for the reasons I mentioned, but then, you know, take it down if the parking demand ever warrants, lack of parking demand warrants it. Because, or, you know, and I've often said on a campus, you have hundreds of surface lots, just, you know, develop those and put your people in the garage or something to that effect. But I'm certainly, I guess, bullish on the whole really reduced parking as a result of autonomous field. Not bullish, I'm bearish on the autonomous vehicles' impact on parking demand. Maybe a lot of other things that impact parking demand, you know, Uber, Lyft, carpool, but I don't know that autonomous vehicles are, certainly in my professional career and or lifetime, depending on how long I live. But I'm sorry, yeah.
So maybe coming sooner or later, I asked this question at an EV symposium, and they're like, I don't know, nobody's ever asked that question.
I'm in trouble.
But I found interesting. So obviously there's a concern with, or at least our fire marshals have concerns about fires with electric vehicles. Do you see a change coming down the line as all of the vehicles transfer over to electric, that structurally in our garages, sprinkler systems aren't going to do it anymore? Like, is anybody thinking about this?
No, you are, I'm glad you asked that question, because the actual building codes have changed now. Right now, I think most states are operating under IBC 2018. They're being adopted to 2021, and 2021 will require all parking garages, whether open or not, to be sprinkled. So right now, most garages that are open, classified, do not have to be sprinkled. In New Jersey, as of March, if we don't get a building permit in before March of this 2023, we're going to have to design, from that point on, every garage has to be designed with sprinklers.
Do you think that the sprinklers are going to be able to manage, knowing that the water volume or whatever?
Yeah. I think there may be, and it's actually for that reason, because the fire concern about these battery fires, they can't put them out. and that type of thing. And I think there are, and again, we had our architects pour through the code, and I should know this, but I don't. I think there's other requirement, like joint sealants may have to have a higher fire rating, things of that nature. So, but I can probably track down that information we analyzed, but just that sprinkler system's likely going to add, $1,200 to $1,500 per space to the cost of a garage. So.
To that subject, and I think that is quite much. My name is Richard Easley, and I'm the new chair of the Planning, Design, and Construction Committee within IPMI. And one of the things on that subject that I just read, which was kind of interesting, it happened in Houston. Tesla caught fire, and the firefighter needed 28,000 gallons of water to put the fire out for good after reigniting twice. 28,000 gallons, right? And so, and according to this NBC report, the typical ICE, internal combustion, it takes 300 gallons to put out the fire. So we're talking about 28,000 versus 300. And so, as we are moving, and we are moving to many, many more, in fact, we will not be able to buy anything other than electric vehicles in the next 12 years. The garages and the ability to start or put out fire items is completely different. There's a code changing, which is good, but I'm not found anything that goes like, well, 28,000 down to 300. That's a great
No, and I mean, it's, we've responded to a lot of car fires that are, I assume internal combustion, and they're pretty modest. The damage, certainly limited damage to the structure, depending how quickly they get out, damage to the cars. But there was, major fire in Europe that a garage, they didn't get out, garage collapsed. And then I think even in New York City, they had one, and that's what's prompted the, obviously beyond the batteries, that issue as well. So.
If there's any more questions, I'm sure you can get later. I don't want to have you guys late for lunch. Downstairs in the theater is lunch with the VP of Buffalo Bills for the keynote speaker. So you guys want to go down there for lunch?
All right. Thank you very much. Oh, thanks.
Thank you.